Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Dal. Excuse me. Excuse me. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Dal, Daf 34, Masechta Yevamos. Friends, Daf Lamed Dal really continues discussing the Mishnah from yesterday about these two guys who married these two girls, and then they get all confused. So they betrothed, right? Reuven was Mekadesh Sarah, Shimon was Mekadesh Rivke, but then they get switched up when it comes to the chuppah. And then we kept on adding on and saying, well, if Reuven and Shimon are brothers, well then there's also issues of Eishes Och, and if Sarah and Rivka are sisters, then you have to worry about Achus Isha. And then if they're Nidas, then you have to worry about that. So we kept on layering these relationships. So we're going to kind of analyze that and go into detail about that, and then we'll see where this daf takes us. But we go weiter in the Mishnah. So friends, we're going to start in daf Lamed Dal, Amud Aleph, all the way at the top. Wow, there's a fellow driving by in a scooter outside. I heard it. That must be a very loud scooter, because mamish 2 rooms away, and there's windows closed and doors closed. Wow. Uman aitana d'isle iser kolel v'isser mosif v'isser bas achas. Wow. Who is this Tana who holds of all of these above combinations, kind of keep on building onto each other, and you're chayiv for all sorts of things? How is that for an explanation? Meaning, if we look at this Mishnah, we have we have an Isser Kola, we have an Isser Mosif, we have an Isser Bas Achas. What does that mean? So, it means that when Reuven marries Sarah, so then just like that, Sarah becomes also to Shimon because of Eishes Och, right? She's the wife of his brother Reuven, and also Eishes Ish. So that's Bas Achas. Just like that, 2 Isurim come. And then we say that when Shimon now marries, and now when Shimon marries Rivke, and now that Shimon's married to Rivke, so he's not allowed to marry any of the other sisters, right? So let's say there was Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. So again, Reuven married Sarah, so now Shimon is also to Sarah because of Eishes Och and because of Eishes Ish, right? She's a married woman. And then Shimon marries Rivke, which makes Shimon also to all of the sisters. So if there's Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, so now from the fact that Shimon's married to Rivka, he's now also to Rachel and Leah, but also to Sarah, which is an Isser Kolel, right? Meaning he was already also to Sarah, and now he's also to all the sisters, including Sarah. So that's an Isser Kolel. And then what happens, right? So, but still, Reuven is mutter with Sarah, right? It's his wife. But what if Sarah now becomes a Nida? So now also you have to worry about that, and that would be Isser Mosif, right? That now that she becomes a Nida, she's now also even to her husband Reuven. So we see that in all of the cases listed in the Mishnah, that when you have Reuven married to Sarah, Shimon married to Rivke, and we keep on building onto it and saying, what if Reuven and Shimon are brothers? What if Sarah and Rivka are sisters? And we're saying that each step of the way you become more and more usher, and you're chayiv for more and more things, right? And then we said if she's a nidus, then you're chayiv that as well. So we see that you're chayiv for all of these stages, all of these steps individually, and we have a Isser, we have Bas Achas, we have Isser Kola, we have Isser Mosif, we have all the fun little things. So friends, so Uman Hai-Tana, I'm starting from the beginning, the Isle Isser Kola, Isser Mosif, Isser Bas Achas. Who is this Tana who holds of all of the above? Who holds of that you be chayiv for each one of these things? Friends, you ready? Amar Yehuda, Amar Rab, Rab Meir. Says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rab, it's Rab Meir. The Tanan, as we learn in the Mishnah, Yesh ochel achila achas v'chayiv ole arba chatos v'osham echod. Holy shnikes. Friends, can you imagine? You eat one thing and you chayiv 4 korban chatases and 1 korban osham. 1 second, people are making noise. Let me go see what it is. I think some guy out there thinks he's the next Shlomo Kalbach. Alright, well, what am I to tell you, huh? we gotta go weiter. I'm just gonna try to focus on Sarah and Rivka and Reuven and Shimon, when all else, focus on Reuven and Shimon. So, alright, this guy's crooning. So you have a fellow, he eats a shtickle, and the next thing you know, he's chayav 4 korban chatases and 1 korban ashim. I hope he's been saving up for that meal. Let's go weiter. So, Tomei, this guy is really, he's very distracting with his very beautiful voice. So Tomei she'achal chaylev. So you have a fellow, he's Tomei, and he eats chaylev. Alright, forbidden fats, v'hu noser, and it's also noser min hamukdashin, biyom HaKippurim. Alright, so first of all, you're not allowed to eat chaylev ever. Right? These are like forbidden fats that you're not allowed to eat. But it's also a korban, right? So now he's not allowed to eat that because he's tamei, and it's a korban, v'hu noser. And also it's, it's after the time that you're allowed to eat it. And it's also Yom Kippur. So you're chayiv for that. So those are the 4 korban chatases that you're chayiv. And min hamukdashin, and which means that it was like the emurim, the parts that go on them, from the part that goes on the mizbeach. And therefore he's chayiv an ashim for that. So he's chayiv, 4 korban chatases and 1 korban ashim. Reb Meir Omer says, Reb Meir, imaisa Shabbos ve'otzio befiv chayiv, and says Reb Meir that if it was not just Yom Kippur, but it was also Shabbos, and he took it out to Rosh Hashanah in his mouth, so then it will also be chayiv for Hotzah. So now here we have situations of Isser Mosif, Isser Kolel, and also Bas Achas. Because for example, when you have a regular korban, so the chaylev is already Asr. But then when you're makdish it, and when it becomes noser, so then these kind of added things come. So that's like Isser Mosif. And then when you're tamei, so it was already also to you, but now because you're also to like other korbanos, you're also to this. So that would be Isser Kolel. And then also when it's Yom Kippur and Shabbos at the same time. So Yom Kippur and Shabbos, right? Meaning if Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos, so when Shabbos comes in, it's both Shabbos and Yom Kippur. So you can be chayiv for both of those at the same time, which is Bas Achas. So we see that Reb Meir is the opinion that says that you're chayiv for, right? That you're chayiv all these korban chatases and ashams, and that is Kolel, Mosif, Bas Achas, Amilo Inu Min Hashem. But they said to Reb Meir, meh, we don't agree with you. But says the Gemara that the author of our Mishnah that's saying that you're chayiv for Mosif and Kolel and Bas Achas, that is Rabbi Meir's opinion, as we see in that Mishnah. Let's see. I think our friend he's still. I think he's still serenading us. So just an update. There's a guy. He's sitting out in the park. Reb Dennis, when you come to the Yanana shul, so you're gonna see outside there's a park. So we got a fellow out there in the park. He's just sitting there singing. Doesn't even have a guitar. He's just singing. Alright, very nice. Let me tell you. Alright, so where are we? Reb Meir aliba deman. So who's Reb Meir saying like, right? I mean, so Reb Meir in our Mishnah, we're saying no. So you have these guys, Reuven, Shimon, and they got their wives, and we said huchlefu yesterday, right? We said that it wasn't intentional, right? Right? Reuven betrothed Sarah, Shimon betrothed Rivka, and they accidentally somehow got switched up at the chuppah. Now says Reb Meir they chayiv a korban chatos. So now, aliba deman, who is Reb Meir going like? Which of his rebbeim? Which is interesting. So Reb Meir, I think, was a student of Rabbi Akiva, but we seem to be referring to Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Eliezer here. Aliba de Rabbi Yoshua. Oh. So if you want to say that Reb Meir is saying like Rabbi Yoshua, ha-mutabed va-mitzvah potter. Oh, but Rabbi Yoshua says, excuse me, that ta'abed va-mitzvah, that when you make a mistake by a mitzvah, you taka potter. Who knows what this is talking about? It's talking about Gemara Masechta Shabbos. I remember taka learning, I think, this Gemara Masechta Shabbos. I was subletting Jeff Handel's apartment. That Masechta Shabbos. Friends, remember Masechta Shabbos? That was like the beginning of the pandemic, Masechta Shabbos Hakoponim. So it's in the Perek of Eliezer de Mila that remember this Gemara? That you have one boy who needs to have a bris milah on Shabbos, the other boy needs to have a bris milah on Sunday. and he makes a mistake, and he gives a bris milah to the Sunday fellow on Shabbos. So it's tar b'dvar mitzvah. So you made a mistake in the context of a mitzvah, but v'lo as a mitzvah. You didn't actually do a mitzvah because this boy was supposed to have a bris milah on Sunday, and he did it on Shabbos, which is too early. So anyway, so he didn't do a mitzvah. Then says Rabbi Yehoshua, he's potter. Now, in this case, in our Mishnah, so tar b'dvar mitzvah, right? Meaning Reuven was intending to do chuppah with his wife, but he ended up making a mistake in doing it with Shimon's wife. So it's tar b'dvar mitzvah v'lo asa mitzvah, and Reb Meir is saying that he's taka chayv. Now Rabbi Yehoshua would say that he's potter, so it can't be Rabbi Yehoshua memele se'ela li b'der Eliezer. It must be that Reb Meir is saying like Rabbi Eliezer. Just an update, the fellow is still singing. Let's see if he sings throughout the entire Daf Lamed Dalet. Ibai Semer, if you want, I will say, La'olam aliba de Rabbi Yehoshua. Oh, really, Taka, you can say it's Rabbi Yehoshua. Ki ka'amar Rabbi Yehoshua, tar b'dvar mitzvah potter. Hanimili gabi tinoikis. Says, the Gemara, you can argue that when Rabbi Yehoshua says that when you make a mistake by a mitzvah and you don't do a mitzvah, you're potter, that's by bris milah. There's manu bohu. Because there's time pressure. It's Shabbos, right? The bris needs to happen on Shabbos. There was 2 babies. He made a mistake, right? There was time pressure, and he made a mistake. Okay? Aval hai came the ein zman bo lo. But maybe Rabbi Yehoshua would say in this case where there's no rush, there's no reason why the wedding, the chasna has to happen right now. So everyone's pretty chill. So maybe Rabbi Yehoshua would say in this case. He would be chayiv, since there was no rush or anything, and he made a mistake. He would be chayiv a korban chatas. Barei trume, or perfect Gemara. What about trume? The ein zman bahol. There's no rush. V'ka potter. Fellow's still singing. V'ka potter, and Rabbi Yehoshua says he's potter d'tnanis. We learn in the Mishnah. Where's this Mishnah? In Trumis. Hoya ochel b'trume. You have a fellow. He's eating trume. V'noda shu ben grusho ben chalutz, and he finds out that he's the son of a divorcee, or he's the son of a chalutzi. So now, a kohen who's the son of a divorcee, meaning if his father, who's a kohen, married a divorcee, so he's a chalul. Or if he married a chalutza, so then the child is a chalul and he's not allowed to eat truma. So he's eating truma and he finds out he's a chalul, so he was doing a tar b'dvar mitzvah. He thought he was eating mitzvah, he thought he was eating truma, which is a mitzvah. I guess it's at least in the context of a mitzvah. And he made a mistake, and it turns out that he's take a chol. So Rabbi Eliezer mechayiv keren v'chomesh. So Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, well, you're chayiv the principal plus a fifth. Rabbi Yehoshua potter. Rabbi Yehoshua says that that he is going to be potter. So there's an example of he made a mistake by a mitzvah, and there's no time crunch over there, and nonetheless Rabbi Yehoshua is saying he's potter. Ha'itmar Allah, it was stated, Amr Beiva Barabaye, Hoche, B'Truma Be'erev Pesach, Haskinet Zman Bohol. Actually, we were talking about Truma on Erev Pesach. Then on Erev Pesach, there is a time crunch. I don't know, has anybody ever experienced a time crunch on Erev Pesach? If not, speak to me. I can tell you where to go to experience a time crunch on Erev Pesach. Fellow's still sinking. V'bai Seimu. Or, if you want, I will say, Be'isr bas achas v'alibdu Reb Shimon. Oh, friends, what do you think about that answer? What do you think about that teretz? You could argue, it's nice to not be talking so much about Reuben and Shimon and Sarah and Rivka and these people. A little bit we're talking, but we're talking about other things, shtickle also, which is nice. So, or if you want, I will say that when the Mishnah says that Yechayev, for all these layers, for, if they're brothers, if they're sisters, Nida, all sorts of things. So we want to say it was Reb Meir, but you could say it's Reb Shimon. B'basachas. Friends, remember yesterday we had that whole discussion about, even though 2 days ago we had a machlokas between Reb Yossi and Reb Shimon, about, if you're chayiv for achos isha as well as eshes och. Reb Yossi says you chayiv for both. Reb Shimon says you only chayiv for one. But then Reb Chia had explained yesterday that when it comes to bas achas, that if both averis happen, isurim happen at the same time, so then Reb Shimon would say that you chayiv twice. So you could taka say that the Mishnah is even Reb Shimon. Right? Where am I? You could say that it's like Reb Shimon's opinion, and that these things all happen at once. What does that mean? So Bishlama Kulu Mishkachas La Deshavinu Shaliach V'Shavu Inu Shaliach Ufago Shaliach B'Shaliach. Right? You could say, okay, meaning so you can have a situation by Basachas, right? Because what I mean, because we're talking about a whole, right, all these different layers, right? Meaning we're talking about where first you have Ruvain marrying Sarah, right? And then there's like Eishes Och, and there's Eishes Ish, and then we said that Shimon marries Rivka, so now there's Achos Isha. But it could still happen that all of this happens all at the same time. How does that happen? Right? Shavinu Shaliach. Well, V'Shavu Inu Shaliach. That they both set up messengers, right? So Reuven and Shimon have their messenger, Sarah and Rivka have their messenger, Ufagashliach b'Shaliach, and they and the messengers met up with each other, right? So, right, in order to do the to do the marriage, and therefore, what's going on? Are people yelling outside? One second. People might be yelling. I gotta check this out. Okay, nobody's yelling, but the guy's still singing. So Reuven and Shimon set up a messenger to send the Kiddushin money, and Sarah and Rivka have their messenger, and they meet each other, and they make the transaction, and therefore, both, right, so Reuven married Sarah, and Shimon married Rivka, both at the same time, because, right, it all happened, when the Shliach sort of gave the Kiddushin to the other Shliach. So therefore, like the Eishes Och, Nachos Isha, that all kind of kicks in at the same time. Elanidus Hechi Mishkachasla. But how does the Nida piece work? How could it be that Reuven marries Sarah, Shimon marries Rivka at the same exact time, but then this final piece, which is also that, that they're Nidas, so how does that also happen like at that exact instant? So you ready for this? Omer Rav Amram, Omer Rav, says Rav Amram, the name Rav, Bishofis mitoch Yud Gimel la'achar shlosha osir li'ichyufei inu mitoch shneim osir la'achar shneim osir li'chyuvei ini. Wow, Itaka is singing Shlomo Carlebach right now. So, he's talking about a situation where the shtickle computer programming gets mixed together with Kesef Kiddushin. And what this means is that the way that the Nida kicks in over here is that, well, they computer basically the girls, right, Sarah and Rivka, and Reuven and Shimon, both have the same, they all have the same birthday, but they're 1 year apart, right? The boys are 1 year older. Now, of course, a bar mitzvah is 13 and a bas mitzvah is 12. So what they do is, right, so let's say their birthday is the 1st of Tishrei, okay? So what they do is they kind of schedule the Kiddushin to kick in on the 1st of Tishrei. And now, when these girls are less than 12 years old, so there isn't necessarily this, Isser of Nida until they're Benos Mitzvah. Now, so you have these messengers, the messengers of the boys, the messengers of the girls, and they're all going to do the Kesef Kiddushin, and the computer programmed the Kesef Kiddushin to only kick in on the 1st of Tishrei at night. So Memele, and then what happens is they become Nidas already from before then, right? Let's say the last day of Elul or something, they become a Nida and they just keep on, the Dam is still coming, which means that so basically when the 1st of Tishrei kicks in and they become, these boys are now 13 and these girls are now 12, and right when the 1st of Tishrei kicks in and the Kiddushin is Chal, and there's Achos Isha, and there's Eishesach, and they were a Nida from already before, so right at the same time, they're also a Nida, everything happens all at once, and that's how you could say that according to Reb Shimon, you'd be chayav for each and every one. Wow. That was gewaldig. Alright, the guy's still singing. Okay. Mafrishin Osan. Okay, so we had said in our Mishnah, so now what happens, right? So Ruvain was married, did Kiddushin with Sarah, Shimon did Kiddushin with Rivka, and but then they get mixed up somehow. Everybody gets all mixed up. So now we said, okay, well they have to kind of take a break for 3 months, because just in case anybody got pregnant there, we have to make sure that there's no mamzer, right? So they have to wait enough time until they can know if they're pregnant or not. So viha ein isha misaberes b'bir rishona. Oh, so fact the Gemara. But 1 second, if this was the first time that this girl was having intercourse, so then she wouldn't become pregnant. So Rav Nachman and Rabbi Bar Avua shebalu v'shonu. Oh, so since Rav Nachman and Rabbi Bar Avua, well, they had intercourse more than one time that night, so they could have gotten pregnant the second time around. But 1 second, what about that which Reb Chia taught, Arekan Tes Zayin Chatos, that you can have 16 korban chatases over here, right? 4 for Reuven, 4 for Shimon, 4 for Saras, 4 for Rivka, plus Avin. Well, if that intercourse twice, well, then it should be 16 times 2, 32. Vili taimich. But then, affecting Gemara, but based on that logic, Rabbi Eliezer d'mechayev al kol koyach v'koyach tuva. But then, affecting Gemara, according to Rabbi Eliezer, right, and we had said earlier on the page that possibly the Mishnah was according to Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. So then he says that for each hanoya of the bia, right, each and every time that there's more pleasure while they're having intercourse, you'd be chayiv each and every time. So then it would even be more than 32. So the b'koyach rishon kochoshev, we're only taking into account the initial hanoah. So hachanami the bia rishon kochoshev, we're only talking about the first bia. So that, right, the first intercourse. So that's why you'd be chayiv 16 times. But they may have taka had intercourse more than once, and that's how these women may have become pregnant. Rav Nachman. Now says Rav to Rav Nachman, V'ha Tomer, B'bir Rishona Yi'aba. But 1 second, Tomer, with Yehuda and Tomer became pregnant from sleeping with Yehuda. And that was the first time that she had ever had intercourse. Omerle. So Rav Nachman responds to Rav, Tomer be'etzba moacha. So the Gemara answers, well, Tomer, she removed her hymen with her fingers, and therefore that's what enabled her to have a baby, to get pregnant on the first intercourse. Tomer bitzchok, that says bitzchok kol moachos shel beis Rebbe, that any of the girls in Rebbe's household that would remove their hymen with their fingers, Tomer Shman, they would call them Tomer. V'lomenuka Shman Tomer. Why would they call them Tomer? Hashem Tomer Shemacho be'etzba. Well, because that's what Tomer did. But 1 second. But how could it be that the first time that Tomer had intercourse was with Yehuda? Tomer was married to Er and Onan. Er v'Onan shimshu shlo kedarkan. Well, Er and Onan, right, Yehuda's two sons who were married to Tomer, they did not sleep with Tomer in the normal manner. They slept with her not in the normal manner. And therefore, her first time sleeping with somebody in the normal manner was Yehuda Meisvei. We have a kasha. 1 second, we have a kasha. What's the kasha? Kol esim v'arba chodesh dosh mi bifnim v'zor mi b'chutz to Rabbi Eliezer. Says Rabbi Eliezer that when a woman gives birth, so for the 24 months, for 2 years after that, while she's nursing, so when having intercourse with her husband, they can kind of have intercourse, but he would release his seed outside of her, so to reduce the sort of chances of pregnancy, so that it wouldn't affect her milk production, which she needs to feed her current baby. So Amrulay, they said to him, Halalu eino ela k'maisi er ve'onon. So says the Gemara, right? And they say to Rabbi Eliezer no, you can't do that. You can't have intercourse but release the seed outside of your wife, because that's what Er and Onan did, implying that Er and Onan were having regular intercourse with Tamar, just that they were releasing their seed not inside of her. So therefore, it would appear that Er and Onan were having sort of regular intercourse with Tamar, and Yehuda was not the first. So answered the Gemara, K'maise Er v'Onan v'lo k'maise Er v'Onan. Well, what Rabbi Eliezer is describing is only somewhat like Er and Onan. Well, it was like Er and Onan to the extent that they would release their seed outside of Tamar. But it's not like Er and Onan, because Er and Onan, they did not sleep with Tamar in the regular manner, whereas what Rabbi Eliezer is describing would be the regular fashion. B'shlomei Onan, I understand why you would say that about Onan, that he released his seed onto the floor. Er minolan. How do I know this about Er? Omer of Nachman by Yitzchok Tichsiv Vayomis Gam also, that by Onan it says that he also died. Afhu ba'osa misa meis, that he died in the same way. B'shloma Onan mishum lo yeh hazor. I understand why Onan did this, because the pasuk says that he understood that he wasn't going to have children. So Er, my time of Yakum, Er did it. Well, he was concerned that if Tamar becomes pregnant, maybe she won't be as beautiful. So therefore he didn't want her to become pregnant. Friends, this fellow outside is still singing. Pasha is just sitting on the bench and singing. No guitar, no nothing, just singing. Says the Gemara Tana Rabban. The rabbis thought, oh, so what does the pasuk say? The pasuk says, that when a man and a woman have intercourse, so then they become tamei, right? The woman becomes tamei from the zera, from the seed that the sperm makes her tamei. Prat lekala, to the exclusion of a bride. Did Rabbi Yehuda, that is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, prat l'shelo kedarka, whereas the Chacham say to the exclusion of shelo kedarka, intercourse not in the normal fashion. Omar lei hon breder of Nachman to Rav Nachman. So it says Hon, the son of Rav Nachman, to Rav Nachman. Leimuksav Rabbi Yehuda hatorachasa tachshite kal. So Hon, the son of Rav Nachman, says to Rav Nachman, well, it sounds like the Torah is having compassion for the makeup of the bride, that the bride did her makeup, and it's saying that she does not become tamei, so that she won't have to mess up her makeup, and that if she becomes tamei from the sperm of her husband, so then she'll have to go to the mikveh and wash off the makeup, and she wants to leave it on. So that's why the Torah says that she doesn't become tamei, so that she could leave on her makeup. Omerle, Rav Nachman responds to Hon. He says, "Lefisha ein isha misabra mibia rishono," and Hon says, and Rav Nachman says, no, it's because this woman is because she's not going to become tamei from the first intercourse, and the pasuk says, right, osa shichva zara, that it has to be something that can actually make her pregnant. She cannot become pregnant from the first time that she's with her husband, and therefore no need to go to the mikveh. B'maika miflage. What exactly is Rabbi Yehuda and the Chacham arguing about? Right, that the Chacham says that the Rabbi Yehuda says that osa is to exclude a kala, a bride, whereas the Chacham say that it is to exclude intercourse not in its normal manner. So what are they arguing about? So Rabbanan Tzaveh, the rabbis hold shichvas zera prad leha'aro'o, osa prad l'shelo kedarka. So the rabbis hold that when the pasuk says v'isha asher yishkav ish osa shichvas zara, that when it says shichvas zara prad leha'aro'o, to the exclusion of ha'aro'o, who could tell me what ha'aro'o is? Well, it's the machlokas. Either it means that the fellow kind of doesn't quite insert his penis into this woman, and the other one is that he does a little bit, but not quite a lot. That would be ha'ara. Prat l'shelo kedarka, and then also, when it says also prat l'shelo kedarka, it's the exclusion of intercourse not in the normal manner. Rabbi Yehuda Savar, whereas Rabbi Yehuda holds shelo kedarka v'ha'ara mishichva zara nafka, that we learn out kedarka and right shelo kedarka and ha'ara from shichva zara. Prat osa prat l'chala. Whereas osa excludes a bride. Kiyasu Ravin Amr Yochanan. When Ravin came, he said the name of Yochanan Kol Sheshasa Achar Baila Eser Shanim V'Niseis Shuv Eina Yoledes. Said if you have a woman who is married and then she was unmarried for 10 years and then she gets married again, well then she's unable to conceive after 10 years of not being married. Rav Nachman Loshanu Ela She'ein Daita Li Nasi. It says Rav Nachman, that's only if she was not intending to get married again. Aval Daita Li Nasi Misaberes. But if she was intending to get married again, so then she can get pregnant. Amar Le Rave Levas Rav Chizde. Says Rave to the daughter of Rav Chizde. Right, Rave of course was married to the daughter of Rav Chizde, and Rashi points out that was after Rami Bar Chama. So Rami Bar Chama was married to the daughter of Rav Chizde. He died. There was a 10-year hiatus, and then Rav married Rav Chizde's daughter. So it says Rav to his wife, to Rav Chizde's daughter, that people are spreading rumors about you because we had children together and you were not married for 10 years in between. So Amrle, she said to him, on a daitoi, Oloch, I always knew that I was going to marry you. So therefore, that's why I was able to have children. There was a certain woman who came before Rav Yosef. Amra lo, she said to Rav Yosef, Rebbe, after my husband passed away, I didn't get married for 10 years, violadti, and I gave birth. Amr lo, he said to her, Biti, my daughter, do not say anything negative about the rabbis. She said, you know what, Yataka right. I did actually have intercourse during that time with a Gentile. Alright, what do you want me to tell you? Amr Shmuel says, that all of them need to wait 3 months. What does that mean? It means that if you have a woman who is married and then she is no longer married, so she needs to wait 3 months before getting married again, so that if she's pregnant, she knows who she's pregnant from. To the exception of a convert who's a minor, or a non-Jewish maidservant who's a minor and they become Jewish. But a kitana, a minor, a Jewish minor, she would need to wait 3 months if she is no longer married to her husband. Uvemai, and how exactly did she get separated from her husband? Ibn Meyun, if we're talking about a katana who got separated from her husband through the process of refusal by saying I'm out, from Shmuel de Loboya, Shmuel says that she would not need to wait 3 months. Beget, and if they broke it off with a bill of divorce. Shmuel already said that she would then need to wait 3 months. Shmuel says, that if she does meyun, then she doesn't need to wait 3 months. But if he gave her a get, even as a katana, so then she would need to wait 3 months. So we already know this, right? So what's like the chiddush of Shmuel over here saying that the katana needs to wait 3 months? If she did meyun, then she wouldn't have to wait 3 months. And if she didn't, if it was a get, then we already know that Shmuel says she would have to wait 3 months. Rather, we're talking about znus. We're talking about that she had slept with somebody outside of the context of marriage. Vigazu Rabban Katana Mishum Gedola, and the rabbis made a gezerah by a minor out of concern for an adult. Right, that an adult would have to wait 3 months. So we say also a minor waits 3 months because we don't katana mishum gedola. But do we in fact make gezeras by minors out of concern for adults? We learned in our Mishnah that our Mishnah had said that with Reuven and Shimon and Sarah and Rivka, if Sarah and Rivka were minors, well then they can go right back to their husbands, right? Since it was a mistake and they're not going to become pregnant anyways, and we're not concerned that they we don't make a gzera because of the adults. So it says of Gidol Marav, that Mishnah, that's like just an exception to the rule. Wait, what do you mean that they made an exception? That was an exceptional case. Did it actually happen? That there was Ruvain and Sarah and Shimon and Rivka and they got switched up? Rather, no, it may not have actually happened, but it was as though it was like a special exception. And they said that, and they didn't make a gzera of ketanas because of gedolas, because that's not really a very common case that you have Reuven married to Sarah, Shimon married to Rivka, and they get switched up under the chuppah. It's not really so common, so therefore they're not so concerned, and in that case, the ketanas can go back to their husbands. We're not super concerned about such an exceptional case. Alright, friends. Well, that was the Aflam Dal of Masechta Yevamos. So the first part of the Gemara was trying to figure out who exactly the author of our Mishnah was that was saying that you'd be chayav a korban chatos for each of these things by like Isser Kolel, Isser Mosif, and Basachas. So first, we wanted to say that the author is Reb. Well, we said that first we said that the author is Reb Meir, and that you'd be chayav for all of these things. Then we wanted to say who is he quoting. So we said it must be Reb Eliezer. Then we said it could maybe even be Reb Yeshua. Then we gave a different opinion that maybe the Mishnah was actually according to Reb Shimon, and that it was all talking about Bas Achas, that all these Isurim between Reuven and Shimon and Sarah and Rivka with Eishes Och and Achos Isha and Nida and all these things was according to Reb Shimon, and he says that you'd be chayiv twice. And then we got into sort of other things related to our Mishnah. Friends, that was Daf Lamed Aleph Masechta Yevamos. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.